I tried something different today. Putting the camera on the other side. Same route, different perspective. I need to get out of the house. I'm trying to make a habit out of this. Well, I mean, I think I already made a habit out of it. It's just, now it's almost like, not compulsion, but I think I get it. If you're trying to make this your job, then, well, I mean, if this is your job, then you got to do it every single day, right? So, how you doing? I was just thinking when I was walking out of the house, I'm like, fuck's sake, man, I'm just like doing the same thing every fucking day. But then even saying that right now, I'm getting like flashbacks of other times where I was doing the same thing every single day. Doing shit that I don't like doing. At least now I get to hear myself talk. Not very talkative today. No. Well, no, I'm not going to say I'm not talkative. It's just, I think I just haven't tapped into that, whatever it is that wants to come out. Well, the way I look at it is like, if I wanted to come out and talk, then obviously there's something that wants to come up. It's just a matter of finding it. But I did make some improvements on how I'm doing this, and I turned off all those goddamn alarms. This way the alarms aren't going off in the middle of me fucking saying something, which is so annoying. There's nothing more annoying than like being in the middle of saying something and then a fucking alarm goes off and everything's got to be put on hold so I can take the phone out, turn off the alarm, restart the fucking recording. I don't know, last night I had like 2 straight runs, like an hour and a half and then another 40 minutes. I was okay with that. How you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, so this is where I almost got hit the other day. I didn't cross in the, like, I'm usually pretty smart in the sense that I look both ways more than once. But there was this lady that was on that side. She's kind of cute, but she was anxious. She didn't want to wait for me to cross the street. So I got to about there. And I was looking down because I'm thinking to myself, like, the traffic over here stopped, even though it seemed kind of shady. I was high at the time, and I thought for some reason that the guy that was stopping was just tricking me, so that just to make me think that the traffic had stopped, and then the person in the next lane over was gonna fly through and fucking smash me. So I was like, fuck it, you know what? And I just walked, I didn't look. But I saw the people that were parked over here, And when I got to about this point right here, this chick that's right there, she pulls out with the sharpest turn. And I think, this is my personal theory, is that she's like, I ain't waiting for this nigga, I'm gonna fucking just go. He's gonna stop for me. But I didn't stop. And out of the corner, out of my peripheral, I saw her car getting closer. I'm like, what? This bitch ain't stopping. And she wasn't going fast. I mean, had she fucking clipped me, if she clipped me like I think that she was telling herself that she was going to, it wasn't gonna kill me, but it would have made a big ass scene and it probably would have hurt. So then she slams on the brakes. I see her coming, so I jump back. She slams on the brakes. I'm like, all right, I take that as an opportunity to keep moving. So I keep crossing, and I look over at her, and she fucking starts getting all pissed off at me. And then she speeds off. Like she got something to say. So I waved and said thank you. But then I came over here to the labyrinth, and then that's when my life started flashing before my eyes, and I'm thinking, like, holy fuck, dude. Where did this bitch hit me? See, I'm not normally one to throw around the bitch word either, but she was a bitch. Pedestrians get right away, asshole. That was like last week, though. I'm glad she did. Gave me something to have a pity party about. Loves me a good pity party. Love it. No, the idea right now is that you get to see everything through my eyes. Always looking at my pretty face, so why not change the perspective on it? We're gonna go do the same shit that we always do, but I don't know. The message coming to my brain is this is adding it's helping paint the picture a little bit more. So the morning routines is like, I wake up, well, I usually have like all these fucking alarms going off starting at like 7 o'clock in the fucking morning. Oh my God. So annoying. But I leave them. I leave them because I got to remember the things that are on there. Or usually the message that comes through is like, usually the message that's on the alarm is important for one reason or another. I know what it means. I don't think I really need them, but I kind of like waking up annoyed. Because the phone stays under my pillow. The alarm's not really even that loud, but the motherfucker starts vibrating like a motherfucker. Then my pillow starts vibrating, then my brain starts vibrating, and I don't got time for this shit right now. Come on. It's longer till I gotta do this. Then everything from the night before starts flooding back into my mind, and I'm like, oh, wow. Did all that. And then answers to questions from yesterday start popping up into my head. My favorite is when I wake up in the middle of a thought. I'm a little bit confused what's going on, but the thought like is already formed and it knows what it's doing. The story that's playing through my head right now is, so ever since I was a kid, I've always been obsessed with like the mind and consciousness. Like, where is it? Why can't I touch it? It's there. I know it's there. But where? But the better that I'm coming to learn to understand it, at least my own, the more that I get an idea of how everyone else's works. So this story that's playing out right now is that I'm just kind of not taking advantage of it in a negative way, but taking advantage of the fact that I know how certain things work. So rather than try to control things, just kind of work with it. When my intuition tells me, hey, it's time to go for a walk and start recording yourself saying stuff. All right. What do you want to say? Doesn't matter. Just start walking, you'll get there. Come up with a title first and then let the story fill itself in. That day Derek took over the world. The day that Toxic took over the world. The day that Mr. Demon took over the world. All right. Just let it fill in from there. I mean, it's a little more complicated than that. Not much. It's more like, yeah, the way I see it is like the future's coming through. The future is tapping in to go, oh, hey, so this is what's going on. This is what's going to happen. Now go make it happen. All right. How? Just do. Don't even fucking worry about it. Don't think too hard, Cupcake. Just fucking get up off your ass and go do something. All right. So mote it be, with harm to none except for me. Now, one time I fucking came out here, a big ass snapping turtle over here. We had a staring contest for a little bit. Who won? Har har. I did. And then I did what most people would say, don't do that. Don't do that. So I took a stick and I agitated it enough to bite. Because I wanted to feel the raw power of a snapping turtle without it biting me. That motherfucker, that was scary as fuck. Those dudes, they give no fucks. They're fast as hell, too. I always wanted to go down there. There's some shit over here too. There's a couple trails over there, but this is like the amount of effort. The amount of effort that goes into it is just like, all right, you know, let's take a break. Go the way you know. Not that there's not a benefit to going down the less trodden path. Like one day I was going down there, right? There's a spot over there that you can cross over. Like, see the little stream right there? But a friend of mine, she was out walking in a similar kind of woodsy place, and she messaged me. She's like, oh, she's looking for rocks and crystals, looking for anything that speaks to her. So I'm like, so just something told me to cross over and start walking down this path. And when you get in there, it goes deep into this motherfucker. So, but there's a school back there where the labyrinth is. And when you walk around the labyrinth, there's a bunch of like stones that the kids painted on. And I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but as I was going through that back trail, it eventually brought me out to that school. And I'm like, oh, go walk the labyrinth. And then I'm walking the labyrinth, like, oh shit, magic rocks. Stones. I just had a thought, like, what happens when I run out of things to say about myself? I don't know. Well, this whole taking over the world thing, what the fuck is that all about? Like, what are you even doing? I don't understand. Like, what, well, okay. Alright, so, hi, I'm a witch. And a narcissist, and an energy vampire, and a lot of the things that people call bad. And evil. But I don't see it that way. See, like, the way I've been trained to think, or at least the way I see other people trained to think, is some things are good and some things are bad. Some things fall in the categories of light, some things fall in the categories of dark. And the status quo is to love all the light stuff but hate all the dark stuff. Which, oh, that's a tree killer right there. That's what's making all the trees fucking rot. Not the fucking water, that fucking, whatever the fuck that thing is. So pretty that they gotta hide it in the middle of the woods. Yeah. Yeah, that tree that broke. That's normal. All those tree pieces, totally normal. Because that's what trees do, they just rot. But my teacher taught me, very simple, like, love all the light like you love all the dark. It's like that reverse of it. Love all the light and all the dark. Which means, to me, love all the things that you hate and are afraid of. Bathe yourself in the most gross, awful shit that you can think of. One time, anyone who, like, if you're familiar with the QAnon work, like from years ago, eventually something came out. Some videos were released that were allegedly, like, John Podesta torturing a child. You don't really see anything, you just hear it. But one day what I did was I fucking sat there. I put it on loop for 3 hours, literally 3 hours straight, because what I wanted to do was learn to see why what this guy was doing was a good thing. What? How the fuck? That's not good. Torturing kids isn't good. No, it's not good, but it's also not bad, depending on where you're standing from. I'm not condoning the torturing of children. What I'm doing is trying to understand what's going through this guy's mind. Like, why are you doing that? Like, I don't understand. Like, what are you doing? And what it really came down to was power. Because if you can break something like a child, then you could do anything. It's like one of my thoughts is I haven't talked to my son in like 5 years, almost 5 years. Well, not talked. I haven't seen my son in almost 5 years. And the way I look at that is, I allowed myself and I allowed everyone else to kind of go do their own thing and allowed him to go do his own thing so that I could do my thing. I was a shitty father and husband. So I needed to change my life up so that I can find myself in a position where I can actually be a homebody. But in terms of like letting things go, like I've had to let him go so many times. Like he comes, like he comes to my mind, and I have to like have a talk with him and go, this is the way. Like, sorry, bye. You can do it, so can I. So I look at it like this: is like any relationship that I have, I cherish it, but at the same time, I'll cut you off like dead hair. If I could do it to my son, I'll do it to you too. If I can not turn my back on my son, but if I can let him turn his back on me and then just go and do my shit, hey, listen, I don't need nobody. The only person I need is me. And that sounds selfish, but that's kind of the way, that's literally the way. Think of it, it's like what people say, like you're born alone, you die alone. The only person you can rely on in anything in your life is yourself. You can't rely on your kids, you can't rely on your friends, you can't rely on your parents, you can't rely on your siblings, you can't rely on strangers. So you gotta fucking become self-sufficient, sovereign. Now, mind you, also, I mean, I think it's important to note that, like, I'm also a Virgo rising, so that's literally the purpose of Virgo, is the person that I'm turning into, the person I'm trying to evolve into is a sovereign individual that doesn't have to rely on other people, because I rely on myself. Now, that's not to say that I'm entirely against the idea of people relying on me. That's cool. I like feeling needed. That makes me feel good. Gets me off. Because it goes, fuck yeah, you're awesome. But now we're getting into like that good kind of selfish. Like, just think about yourself. Fuck everybody else. I mean, I'm saying fuck everybody else, but it's more like I'm saying it because it's like a familiar way of saying it. It's like fuck everything. Who gives a fuck? Let your shit out. So now the past couple days, I feel like, I mean, over the course of this week, just getting all this shit out, I feel good. Because I don't have all the frustration. I feel like I wish I did this sooner, but it's all right. The reason, what even got me back into doing this was because there's this girl that I follow on YouTube, Amina, and she's probably one of the most amazing readers ever. But she kind of gave me this advice that was like, yeah, what the fuck? Go do the things. So she was kind of like my motivation. And then the more that I started doing this, the more I'm like, I don't mind it. I get to talk to myself for hours a day. I mean, I'm doing it anyway, but at least I'm putting it somewhere. The same thing with like Facebook. Like, I mean, I get to write for myself, to myself, about myself. Oh my God, that's like the coolest. I'm also a Leo, so I have, and this, I felt this ever since I was a kid, but like I got a massive ego that loves to be fed. I mean, over time, I've come to see it as a parasitic twin ego once my mind's subdivided. But now it's a little bit different. Now that Mr. Toxic and Miss Kitty they have friends, they got BFFs, Mr. Demon and Mrs. Hellfire, Miss Hellfire. Like, now it's like they got playmates. Now keep in mind, those all represent aspects of my psyche. The masculine and feminine side, but also the feminine masculine and the masculine feminine. And the light and the dark sides. So Mr. Toxic and Miss Kitty, they live in the light. They're kind of like God and his wife. But then you go to Mr. Demon and Miss Hellfire, and now we're kind of going into the dark side, where it's like, nah, we don't need labels. We just are. Which is kind of familiar to me, because I believe that's That's literally how my last relationship was kind of like for a little while. Why we gotta label it? It just is. But then we ended up putting a label on it, and that's when things kind of got all fucked up. Even though, well, I mean, it took 10 years. No, well, I mean, it was always fucked up. It was one of those toxic relationships where everybody hated each other. Well, she didn't hate me at first. She grew to hate me more and more over time. Because I'm an avoidant type. I'm usually more avoidant than anxious. Like, I'll shove you away before I start worrying that if I'm doing something wrong. But at the same time, this new relationship I'm in is like more anxious, or it was more anxious. I mean, it's not anything official, but my lady friend and I, like, we've been talking for a couple years, more regularly over the past couple years, and the way I kind of approach her is, one, I don't have a girlfriend, she doesn't have a boyfriend, so why don't I treat her like I would treat a girlfriend? Does she want you to do that? Well, I don't know. She doesn't not want me to, that I know of. So I just do. I mean, I've asked a couple times, like, is there anything you want me to stop doing to change? Not happy about that? Maybe I asked once, but the fact that I asked once, I was like, go you. She didn't say nothing? No. That's good. Yeah, it's nice. It's actually really nice because it's nice to have somebody to talk to. It's nice to have somebody to open up to and actually like share feelings with. And mind you, it's my feelings. But at the same time, it's like, wow, you can actually do that. You have a soft, tender side. Yeah, believe it or not, I do. But that's kind of like, I don't know, the way I look at it is like, that's kind of a side I only really show her. Like, I don't really have a need to show anybody else that. Like, I don't want, like, there's no desire to. But I mean, at the same time, like, I look at it as like good practice too. Because it's like that thing, like, be the change you want to see. And yeah, like if I were to have a partnership with somebody, that, like, yeah, that's kind of pretty much exactly the way that I would want it to look like. But I'm also the slow burn type, so I'm not really in a huge rush to rush into anything. Not that I have anything else like going on with anybody, but it's nice to have someone that you can kind of go to and treat nice. Like, there was this one time, oh my god, I thought this was the cutest thing. I was so happy with myself. This band that she loves, Billy Velo, loves him. He was playing in Philly recently. And I'm not the biggest fan at all, ever, but I kind of learned to appreciate it appreciate his music from her. And she was saying that she had to work and wasn't going to make the show, so I kind of just do whatever the fuck I want. And I'm like, you know what, I haven't been out of the house, I haven't actually gone out in a while, so why don't I go down to the show and then record it for her? It'll get me out of the house, I get to go on an adventure, and I get to do something really nice for someone I really like. I know, I was sitting there, like, I was just looking at myself from outside myself going, aw, the cutest fucking guy ever. I know. But see, now that's the thing, is like, that part's gotta come out. I can't just stuff that side in. Like, I do have a little sweet side. So that's why I give her my sweet side and I give everybody else the fucking side that doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. Not that I'm like that, normally. But I have to let that side out too. This way I can find a nice balance. See, like after we're done with this, I'm gonna go home. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna go back home, and I'm gonna start doing some writing. Catch up on some things that aren't necessarily like pressing. I mean, I feel myself being pulled away from certain projects to one degree or another. Like, I do have to get back to this astrology thing because there's like so much fucking amazing astrology going on right now, especially for me in my own astrology, but also my lady friend's astrology too, which is like magical. I've never seen somebody's chart that's so fucking perfect. But I have to better understand my own. Why? Why is that important? Well, the important part about it is so that you kind of understand yourself. That's really important. It's really important to understand who you are and what makes you tick, like what makes you operate. I come from the school where I like to believe that everybody's a unique snowflake, but because of societal training, we're led to believe that we're all not individual snowflakes, because if you think you're an individual snowflake, you're going to make somebody else feel bad because you can do something that somebody else can't. So you have to suppress what makes you great to make everybody else feel better. But I come from the school of thought, like Gnostic Jesus, not the church, not the Bible Jesus, but Gnostic Jesus. He had a saying. It's like, get your ass up on a roof, shine like a fucking light post. And people will tell you that don't dim yourself down for the sake of any other people, because once you start doing that, once you start playing music for the crowd, you're fucked. Listen to your own music. Like, I was just watching, like I was talking to my lady friend this morning, and I call her my lady friend because I don't have any other lady friends like that. I have lady friends, but she's a different kind of lady friend. I see her differently. So I was talking to her this morning, and then immediately I hopped over on YouTube to see if there was anything cool on. And I saw this video. Oh no, maybe it was in my notifications. There was this video from this lady, Spiritual Baddie, and she put up this short. And then in the video, she's talking about how it's weird to pretend to be normal, and realistically, like if you're gonna live your life to the fullest, then you gotta be weird. Well, you gotta be normal for you, because trying to blend in and be like everybody else is what's weird. Which is something I stand by. I say the same thing. Weird's the new normal. Normal's the new weird. But I also don't use. I like the word weird instead of weird. Like, I'm weird, but not that kind of weird. Because you got the WYRD, which is weird, but that's an older word. That's where the word weird comes from. Weird means fate and destiny. Weird people are people who are walking their path, following their destiny and fate. Weird people try to blend in and try to be like part of the herd. But there's a lot of that. Like, that's realistically that's really what today's society is all about, is like getting everybody on the same page, doing the same thing. Because if you have everybody doing the same thing, then people are more easily controlled, because people just do what everybody else is doing. And at the same time, it's like a double-edged sword, is because if everyone's doing the same thing, and we can pay attention to it, and we can track it, and we can follow the trends, then it's more easy to pick out the individuals that are going against the grain, because then we got to figure out what the fuck to do with them. Because if they're not following the herd, we got to figure out why. And if we can figure out why they're not doing it, then maybe we can formulate a way to make them do it in a way that they don't even realize that they're doing it. Now, that's why I'm looking at this. Social media, like writing on Facebook, talking on here, like, yeah, these are things that people do all the time, right? A lot of people do it because everyone wants to be internet famous. Because it's easy, to one degree or another. But at the same time, people are doing it for the crowd. You're playing music for the crowd. Like, that's what you're doing wrong. Don't play music for the crowd, because when you play music for the crowd, you're fucked. People want to know what makes you different, what makes you unique. I mean, you're just doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, or just like just videotaping yourself saying things that other people said. You're just like kind of like a drone. But people like that shit. People love it. See, like a part of my brain right now is going like, you're not actually, you're kind of breaking the mold now by not putting the camera on yourself. You're taking the focus off yourself and putting the focus on what you're doing. Which in itself is not really all that normal, but at the same time, like, is it doing anything different than anybody else? No. No, absolutely not. This is following the herd. This is following the herd in a different way, though. Because I want you to hit the dislike button if you're fucking watching this. And don't subscribe. Just give me your goddamn money. Why? Because I'm the best. Because I'm the only one like me. That's why. I'm good at blending in. Oh, another asshole making YouTube videos. Yeah, but it's also my therapy. And I'm not really talking to anybody in particular except for myself. Because the more that I just get to hear myself talk, the smarter I get, because I'm getting to process all of the information that's coming out of my mouth and can make connections to things that there wasn't necessarily connections to before. But at the same time, I'm also getting over like social anxieties, because it's kind of like a little bit nerve-wracking. It was. But it's also like exposure therapy in the sense that, yeah, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but you just keep on doing it enough, and then eventually it just feels normal. Which is what it feels like now, which is a good thing, because if it feels normal, that means that it just continues happening. Until I get something else to do. But I feel like for the next, I don't know, in my mind, because the sun's about to go into my 10th house in Gemini. And so I'm kind of feeling that, well, the 10th house is all about, traditionally, the most surface level way to look at it is the 10th house is all about public appearance, it's your career, it's how people view you. And so it makes sense that I'm doing exactly what I'm doing right now, because the sun is now in the 9th house, which is higher learning, philosophy, travel. And what that means is like it's like, what are the values that you've learned through the experience of your life, that journey, that big long journey throughout your life, and all of the things that you've learned and all of the things that you've taken in, that you've integrated into your system, that you use on a daily basis, that you sometimes forget, like, wow, the only reason I'm doing this is because of the thing that I did all that time ago. So it's kind of like that. So what my 9th house is telling me right now, my Taurus 9th house is, all right, let's figure out a way to increase our Taurus fucking energy by fueling ourselves. Let's fuel that Taurus energy with our higher learning and like do something with it. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me. So that once the sun gets into the 10th house, all we really need to do is, I don't really know. I don't know. Either keep doing what I'm doing, or allow everything I'm doing to kind of settle and do what it needs to do outside of my perception that I don't know about. This way, I could just continue doing either something or something else. Or something and something else. Because you never know. I'm also doing this 30-day money abundance ritual. See, we witches, we aren't all about like just cursing people. And now, number one, never put a fucking curse on nobody. Never try to do that shit, because all you're doing is adding fuel to the fire like some fucking jerk off. So here's what you really need to be doing for all my little buddling witchlings, is start, any kind of time you want to put a curse or a hex on somebody, put it on yourself first, because you're giving people like me a fucking bad name. Not that I really give a fuck, but I give myself my own bad name. I don't need some fucking dumb shit who's jealous or pissed off that somebody won't talk to them, that you're trying to put a fucking spell on people. Like, people know. Everybody knows. It's not a secret. That's why you feel so much shame and guilt for what you're doing, because the person that you're sending it at, the person that you're directing that energy to, feels it. They know it's you. You're not slick. People throw shit my way all the time. What you do is you sit through it, own it, let that motherfucker be right for a little bit, and fucking boop, volley it back. Return to sender. Thank you. I extracted everything I needed from that. Now here, you take the shit that I don't need. Take it back. All the shame, guilt, and fear that you don't want to feel. Don't worry, I felt it for you, but here's the really good stuff that I left for you. That's the shit that I can't fix for you. Because that's really what a curse and a hex is like you can't handle what you got going on inside of you, so it's got to be sent over to the other person so that they can reconcile their part of the equation. Now, at the same time, what we got to take into consideration too, and I think this is really important because this popped in my head, is that curses and hexes, they're not necessarily free will. Don't get so confused that you think that you make as many choices that you think you do, because you really don't. Because once we apply karma and dharma into the equation, now these are checks and balances. Don't worry about what you think you know, because you really don't know shit. What the fuck? What? Hello? Hello? Because you don't really know shit about either one. Dharma is the way. Dharma's just like, the path's already written for you. Don't worry about it. And then karma is just a thing that tricks you into thinking that... How do you explain the karma? Karma is just a path that you walk. We're walking our dharma right now. People will try to sell you and go, oh, come work with me, pay me, and I'll show you how to see your dharma. All right, what they should be teaching you, instead of writing all these long, elaborate books, is like, you're already walking it. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You just don't realize it. There's something deeper inside of you that has to go through certain prerequisites in order to get to the next phase in your life. But we're kind of led to believe that there are people that are out there that want to try to inspire people to not walk their dharma, do their karma while walking their dharma. But it's like people using the dark side. People using the dark, trying to take advantage of the dark forces. But here's the thing, is like you can't actually take advantage of the darkness. The darkness allows you to feel, it lets you believe that. That's part of the illusion of it. But you were actually being controlled the whole time. So even if you do work with the darkness, you do work black magic, like the black magic's actually using you. Does that make sense? The more that you try to control a situation, the more that situation ends up controlling you. It's just like in Fight Club when Tyler Durden said it to the narrator. The things you own, they end up owning you. The things you try to control in your life, you have absolutely no control. You're like a little fucking speck in the universe. Everything that's gonna happen is gonna happen. Everything that's already happening, happened already. You just haven't figured it out yet. It's making its way back at you. You think you live in the present, but you're living in the past. The future hasn't even fucking crashed down on your ass yet. You probably still think that you are whoever the fuck it says on your birth certificate. Makes me think of that lady, Leah Thompson, I think her name is, from Scientology. Like she went on Joe Rogan and was like talking all this shit on Scientology, but she don't even know what she's talking about. And you don't need to be a Scientologist to understand Scientology. All you really need to know is like have a good idea of metaphysics of some degree or another. But what's really going on is that there's soul fragments, right? Your soul. We're going to live in a reality where we have a soul. You call it a spirit, call it whatever the fuck you want. I'm calling it a soul. That soul, that collective soul, is made up of tiny little pieces, individuals. Past lives, present lives. And what's your past life? Your life from fucking like 2 years ago. You aren't who you were 2 years ago. You probably aren't even who you were a year ago. But those pieces, those parts of you are still there. They exist. They're not gone. If I knew then what I knew now, go tell them. Go think of that person. Go think of that version of yourself. Try to do a little fucking visualization experiment. Think of the person that comes to mind. If I knew then what I knew now, right? Now think of that person. Think of that person, and then imagine yourself having the conversation with them. Look at yourself. Look at your old self and be like, hey, listen, we gotta talk. You're stuck in the past, man. You gotta fucking come back to the future. Come, take my hand. Come, take my hand. I will walk you back here. Thank you. Come on. I'll pull you through the portal. Because nigga, you're stuck in like 2005. We're in 2023 already. Like, you missed 15 years. You missed the fact that you got married. You missed the fact that you had a kid. You missed the time that you put the fucking gun to your head. Like, you are so behind the times. We gotta fucking re-educate you. But luckily because you're me, I've been clearing out the space, making the way for my past versions to come up to the future with little to no effort. Oh, that's why I gotta get back to the book project too. Like, we're creating a fucking portal through the past, a very clear image of the past, because how many people can fucking remember every day? How many people have a fucking photographic memory of themselves and their own experiences? Not what other people do to you. Nobody does anything to you. People do things for you. You do things to you. Try thinking like that. So by going back to my own journals and actually like reliving the past 5 years of my head, what I'm doing is creating a much bigger picture of what was going on. This way, any versions of myself, all the aspects of my psyche that are still stuck in 2017 and beyond and back, those motherfuckers now have a tunnel that they can go through and look at. Whoa, this is what my life turned into? I thought everything was shit and was going to hell. Like, but this looks really magical and amazing. Come on, let's keep going forward into the present. Yeah, come. Because the idea is to gather all of the Derek's, past, future, and present Derek's, and have them kind of hanging out in the one spot, the present. No more being stuck in the past. No more like, oh, that happened to me. I hate my job. I hate my life. I hate my wife. I hate my kid. I hate my family. Look what they did to me. Look what they're making me do. Nah, motherfucker, look what you're doing. And you knew it the whole time. It's not like nobody told you that you could stop anytime you want. You remember what April told you? She's like, I don't give a fuck if you fucking got a job or what. Like, I don't give a shit if we have money. We can live in a cardboard box on the street as long as I have you and I have him. That's all that matters to me. No, but I gotta pay my bills. Why don't you just quit? You can quit. You don't even have to stay here. You can leave anytime you want. No, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna do all the things that I hate doing. This way I feel better about myself, so that I can eventually feel bad about myself because I was trying to make myself feel better about myself about something I didn't even like. I feel like my life would have been so much easier and so much more enjoyable if I was working from home. Like, that was my big thing. It's like, I can't be fucking constantly going and following someone else's dream and making other people's dreams reality. What about mine? And my fear was always, I don't have any. I don't know. Like, when the hell have I ever had a chance to fucking consider a fucking dream of mine? But then that's when, because they're just unrealistic. It wasn't until later on in my life that I started to realize that unrealistic is the only way to get into, like, allowing me to indulge the unrealistic thoughts was the only way to actually start making those thoughts realistic. That's why I like to practice that practice that I was taught by the White Queen and Through the Looking Glass. Sometimes I think about 6 impossible things before breakfast. But I take it up a notch. Like, yeah, sometimes I'll think about 6 impossible things, but I'll also think about a couple honorable mentions as well, just to fucking get the brain juices flowing. Because thinking about 6 impossible things, that's cool. But thinking about 10 impossible things, that's even cooler. And what's impossible? The impossible is defined by the end user. What's impossible to me might be impossible for you, and it might be improbable for somebody else. I don't think I push myself hard enough. I think I can go even more. Like force lightning. I could see it. Actually shooting fire out of my mouth. Like dragon fire out of my mouth that burns the shit out of things. Like literal fire. Valerian steel's coming to mind. Well, bruh, when you're spitting hot fire fucking all day, every day, eventually you gotta put that fire to use. So literally what's happening is my inside brain is starting to make it. Now in tarot, the suit of swords represents air, which is the mind. But then you can evolve what a sword is. Because I think of a lightsaber, like the lightsaber represents the mental fortitude of the Jedi and the Sith. They have the capacity to overcome any obstacle with their mind. The lightsaber is just an extension of their mind. Just like a sword. It's like sword fighting. Like one of my favorite books is The Five Rings by Miyamoto Masashi. The five rings are the five elemental swords, which are the five elements within the mind, the five elements of the mind. But because I've been turning on my dragon DNA, and all this hot fire fucking being spit constantly, I just got this thought about Valerian steel, which is steel that's made from dragon fire. So it's like what I'm being told is that my mind is being forged. My mind is being reforged. To have the density, the properties of Valerian steel, kind of like a Valerian steel sword had a baby with a lightsaber. That's what I'm being told. That's a really cool idea, like a Valerian lightsaber, huh? A dragon laser sword. Do people hate it when you call a lightsaber a laser sword? It's not a fucking laser sword, it's a lightsaber. Semantics. My mind is turning into a dragon laser sword. Like a dragon that shoots lasers. Did you ever play that game? Dude, Far Cry 3. But the neon one, the one with Michael something. The guy from fucking Terminator. The first Terminator. Rex Cole. It's like a fucking 80s sci-fi game. Blood Dragon. Dragon Blood. Blood Dragon. Blood Dragon. Far Cry 3. Blood Dragon. Soundtrack's amazing. The soundtrack's by Power Glove. It's fucking badass. But in the game, there are these dragons called blood dragons. And I think they're called blood dragons. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But in the game, these fucking dragons, they're like cyborg dragons. And these motherfuckers, they shoot lasers out of their eyes. Dragon lasers. But it's kind of like, dragons are real, by the way. They don't exist in the physical yet. We're changing that. They're coming back. But dragons don't work like humans do. Like, they're different. You gotta give them a name first. I actually have this idea. It's actually a really good idea. Is to rename all of the elements of astrology so that they work for me. And just started off simple. Just start giving everything different names. Like change the names of all the planets. Because you gotta understand, like if you have any background in like programming or anything, like you understand, like when you're writing software, and I don't have too much. Like I did fucking C++ 101, Visual Basics 101, HTML 101, Computer Science 101. I didn't go very far in it. But there are concepts that I understand. Like, and one of the concepts that I understand is variables. And a variable is just a container for value. Anything can be determined as a container, as a variable. What the variable means is that it has a user-defined variance of value. Like you can use a word like dragon, right? And then anytime that word, that string that you name dragon, you have to apply value to it. Well, what does it actually mean? All right. So for instance, like the toxic order. So we call a dragon, we take that variable called dragon, and we apply the value of the toxic order to it, the toxic order LLC, where the sixes in LLC are silent. And now we have a dragon that has the value of the toxic order because we gave it a name. So anytime we pull up the toxic order, what we're talking about is a non-physical dragon that is growing, evolving, and becoming something more of itself, which is eventually going to be a one world order. Well, it already is. Like, that's another one. That's another dragon. It's the one world toxic order. A brand new form of governance. I was just talking to my mother about, like, communism, right? And, like, I started to realize, like, you can't really get into stuff like this with people because people think they know all this stuff. Like, what, like, communism, just said something about communism. I'm like, well, communism's good. And she's like, well, yeah, no, kids today, they like communism because nobody wants to work. But that's literally not anything about what communism is about. Communism is about having equal representation for the people who are least represented, which are the people who don't have representation, which is the working class. Now, you're told that you have representation by your representatives, but they're not really representing you. They're representing the lobbyists, and they're representing the people that give them money. They're donors and shit like that. Like, they don't really give a fuck about you. They tell you what you want to hear just to shut you the fuck up and keep you fighting amongst each other. But in reality, all they're doing is they're just serving their own purposes. Now, what the nice thing about communism is that communism then applies a different variable to that where the people actually have a say. Now, what's important is that like, I don't live in a communist country. I've never experienced communism. I haven't been in a communist government to actually see the nuts and bolts of how it's working. But what I see is a two-party system. And maybe a two-party system versus a two-party system, so a four-party system, where now 4 equal parties. So it's like, there's no more fighting over who gets what say. It's more like, all right, motherfuckers, let's sit down because we're going to have a real talk now. Because if you aren't going to work with us, then you got to go. Then you're working against us. And if you're working against us, then it's up to us to get you out of there. That's like the bourgeoisie. They represent like the white collar, the white collar, while the proletarians are more of the blue collar. Hold on, my lady friend is talking to me. I'm not going anywhere. You just got to bear with me for a second, because I don't like making her wait. That's normal. Well, yeah. Do you want some insight? I'll give you insight because I'm out at Bert's. Oh shit! Because I'm out at Bert's Grove, just talking to myself, and giving myself insights. And everybody else. What am I saying? Today's been awful so far. That's normal. Murphy's Law. If anything could go wrong. If anything could go wrong, then it will go wrong. Yeah, it's kind of the way of it. But it also depends on how you want to look at it too, because you got to consider that grab. I'm gonna talk to you like a big kid. So basically, it only looks like it's wrong. It's only because your perception is clouded up by some shit. Like you're using filters. You're using what's the right word? You're using perceptional filters. You're only looking at it from one perspective. Now, what would be a really good exercise for you to do, and maybe this could even be a good writing exercise for you, is to write about all of that shit that's going wrong, why it's a good thing, how good of a thing it is. And that's really counterintuitive, and it probably doesn't make any kind of sense, because like, why the fuck would you want to look at something bad as something good? The idea behind it is to flip the script in your mind and break out of that, how do you say it? Out of that rigid thinking, out of that black and white thinking that something is only good or bad. So what I would even challenge you to do right now is to kind of like think about, like really think about it. This isn't like not nothing. Like this will help you in the future, I believe. It's helped me a really great deal. And whenever I have a black and white kind of perception on something, like it's only good or bad, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, is to go, no. Well, there's got to be something good in there. Because here's an example, right? Like your day is going the worst, it's been awful, but now check this out. Because you had such a horrible day so far, you get to listen to my voice and listen to me say smart shit to you. So there is some positivity out of that. So now we can look at that and go, okay, it's been an awful day, but there is a little bit of awesome to it, because Derek has a tendency of just saying awesome things because he's awesome and smart and clever, if I'm going to quote you. But if you're really bored, you can come down to Birch Grove with me. I'm going to eat an edible in a little bit. I'm going to go home in a little while and then catch up on stuff. But I mean, why was it so horrible? Awful. What is it that's so awful that makes it not kind of good? Aside from me, taking me out of the equation. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I just prefer talking to her. You talk to her like that? Yeah, why? My sister thinks she uses me as an emotional crutch. I don't think that's entirely wrong. I mean, that's what people do. Like, you need support. People need support, so they look to somebody to help support them. So I like giving her support, because I think that's important. Like, I know what it's like to feel like you don't have any kind of support system whatsoever, and it feels like shit. So when my friend like actually needs support, like that's why I'm very open with just giving the support that I feel best giving. I don't try to buttercoat it like, oh, poor baby. No, it's like, all right, well, come on, let's start thinking about this. Because also think about it like this. Like what I said before is, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a partner, except for myself. Like, so I talk to her like I would talk to a girlfriend. Like, I put myself in a place. All right, let's say if she was my girlfriend, what would I say? Like, because you're not gonna be my girlfriend, like with that kind of attitude. With a certain attitude. Like I've been with enough women, not many. Like I've had enough relationships where it's like, okay, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what I need, I know what I want, I know what I see. But also at the same time, taking advantage of the fact that a friend needs support, and then I can exercise those parts of myself and go, okay, well, this is how would I help my girlfriend? By having real talk. That's why I talk to myself, honestly. I say shit I don't want to hear. I say shit I don't want to hear. I say shit that other people don't want to hear sometimes. But the point of doing